So thanks. Welcome back. And
Thank
what I'd
you.
like to do is I'd like to take this opportunity to greet everybody. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world you're joining in. We have a huge session today with a lot of participants. So what we'd like to do is just like to set the scene that it's a presentation where we are going to take you through a live phishing attack and a live demo at the end. So stay tuned until the end. And we will take on the Q&A, the questions and answers at the end of the program. So please feel free to write out your questions in the Q&A session and in the chat session as and when you think you need to ask something. So welcome again to the next series of Expert Facts. A little bit about what ProteqMe is and how this has emerged. So ProteqMe is very passionate, and the team of ProteqMe, the professional team of ProteqMe, is very passionate about combating crime and making this world and all of you a safer place. So we are committed to creating this awareness, and we are committed to training and teaching people on how do you keep yourself and your loved ones safe. So today, what I'd like to do is I'd like to present my expert team, Babak, who's our senior partner, as well as Mezad, who's a partner of Protect. And the two of them will take you through the session. They will teach you through a live phishing attack demo session in the end and how to protect yourself. So over to you, Babak. Over to you, Mezad, to quickly introduce yourselves.
Thank you very much for having me here. Uh, I'm a programmer, penetration tester, cybersecurity analyst, and ethical hacker working in this industry over 20 years. And we are passionate about cybersecurity courses, cybersecurity stuff. So happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Over to you, Mezad.
So, hi everybody, good day. My name is Mehzad Mudafram. I'm an ethical hacker, a cybersecurity researcher and trainer, and also a partner at ProteqMe. And it's a pleasure to be here today. What we're going to do is show you all the current trends in phishing. And in the end, we're going to show you a live demo, a live phishing attack from a hacker's perspective, as well as a victim's perspective. All right. So let's get started. We'll just move over some statistics of what phishing really is and how it's really changed and evolved with COVID. Because of COVID, we have seen a huge trend where the phishing attacks are actually evolving and going more towards basically using people in bad ways. So there are some stats here, like Facebook and Google reported losses of more than $100 million, right? Due to COVID, due to phishing, okay? Belgium bank handed over more than $75 million to cyber criminals. And there's a lot like this: Uber, Facebook, Twitter, right? You name it. A lot of cybersecurity companies as well have been affected, like FireEye, where they got breached. All right. So phishing is one of the biggest challenges right now in cybersecurity, and we're going to teach you all about the different kinds of phishing and what you can do as an organization and as an individual to stay safe. All right. Ruzi, can we go on to the next slide?
Yes. So what is a phishing attack? Basically, I think a lot of people want to understand because I think it's one of the emerging threats today in the cyber world. And I think it's a very common emerging threat, right, which impacts individuals as well as companies. So maybe for our audience, you could just explain what a phishing attack actually is.
Definitely. So phishing attacks are basically social engineering attacks. Now, what is social engineering? Social engineering is using someone's psychology against themselves. You're socially engineering them. Okay. Phishing is one part of social engineering. There are a lot of different social engineering attacks that can happen. And in essence, human beings are manipulated into giving data. The reason why phishing is so common and it's so rampant right now is because it's the easiest way of actually getting into a system or hacking, right? Because there's no coding involved. You're not doing anything as such other than just manipulating someone, right? And there are various ways to do this. It's based upon the hacker's creativity, right? So oftentimes we see the Nigerian scam. Everybody knows about that, right? You pay a Nigerian prince a certain amount, and then he'll come and help you or give you some more, right? I think the oldest form of a phishing attack would definitely be the Trojan horse, right? We all know about the Trojan horse story, and I feel that is the oldest kind of phishing attack that exists, if you really think about it, right?
Yeah.
Babak, do you want to add anything here?
Yes, majorly phishing attacks are those kind of attacks that hackers try to send you an email on behalf of someone or an organization or legitimate person, and try to make you do something like clicking on something in that email in order to infect your system with malware or whatever they are trying to do with that email. So as soon as you click on the link in the email, maybe you download some malware from somewhere, you get infected, or your information from your browser will be hijacked by those hackers.
Right. So now let's move into the kinds of phishing attacks. And we're starting with one, which is the most common these days, which is the CEO fraud. All right. So now this is actually the inverse of a whaling attack. So what happens in a CEO fraud attack? A mail comes from the CEO of the company to the, let's say, the financial team or the CFO or whoever it is, to the lower employees, asking them for a certain amount of money. Firuzi actually has a real life example, and she's seen this happen in front of her. Firuzi, do you want to tell us about this? What happened exactly?
Yes, so I'm based in Dubai, and I think it's a known fact that there was a company over here who went through the live phishing attack similar to this, where the CFO received a mail from the CEO sometime closer to midnight, asking to transfer $150,000 to a certain account because they were apparently undergoing a confidential merger and acquisition deal. And no questions asked, because I think in most organizations hierarchy is so stringent that people are a little bit reluctant to ask questions to the right to the people higher up. So obviously he didn't ask questions. He transferred the money. The next day when he went to the office, he checked with the CEO, and he found out that the mail never did come from the CEO. So the company lost $150,000. Of course, the guy lost his job, needless to say. But also there was, I think I put it down to lack of ignorance. So obviously, a lot of people are still unaware of these kinds of attacks, right? So when the mail comes internally from somebody that you know, I think you're more easily succumbing to, becoming a victim and becoming vulnerable. So that's a real incident that I've come across with one of my clients. And then, of course, we had to put a whole security program together for them and, kind of pivot them to the new normal.
So it is very shocking. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on to the next slide. Right. What is clone phishing? Babak, you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Sure, of course. So one of the ways that hackers use in order to send to put the contents of the email that they send you, they try to make it more legitimate. How? They take an email, a legitimate one from a company, just like changing a password, email from Facebook. Okay, they clone it, they use it, the contents, those contents will be sent over to you, but it's not on behalf of the facebook.com, it's on behalf of the hacker. So the content of the email looks perfect, looks real, looks legitimate. This is called clone phishing.
Okay. So guys, if anybody has any questions, please keep them in the chat and we will get to all of them at the end of the presentation. All right. So if anybody has questions, start putting them in now. All right. Let's move on to the next type of phishing, which is domain phishing. Okay. The way they do this is by spoofing domains, right? So they use either email or fraudulent websites. Domain spoofing occurs when a cybercriminal spoofs an organization or company's domain, and they make the email basically look like it's coming from the official domain. For example, if someone wanted to spoof protectme.com, they would make an email come from protectme.com's domain, right? And they also sometimes make fake websites like the exact same website, and they adopt the real site's design, using the URL or the Unicode characters, right? So there are tools to check whether your website is spoofable or not, right? Babak, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, as you explained exactly, spoofing is to try to send the email, I mean, the sender's email is exactly the same as the domain of the target. For example, I'm going to send a spoofing email to someone. I'm trying to put Instagram.com over there. So the person when gets the email, the sender name will be, for example, admin@instagram.com. Exactly. This is called spoofing email. There is another way. Let me explain that one too. Uh, they will make something very similar to the domain. It is not called spoofing, but it's very similar to spoofing because they make, for example, instagramuk.com, for instance. Okay, so when the target sees Instagram at the sender name, they think that it is coming from instagram.com. Okay, so they try to cheat their target like this.
Yeah. So a thing we always tell people is make sure that you check the domain name very, very carefully, because that is a much easier way for attackers to do it as well.
So
Right.
just a quick question. So there are a couple of, I think jargons mentioned on the slide, which says ASCII codes or characters or Unicode characters. Can you just tell us what exactly that means to our audience?
Yes, of course. So hackers can use some kind of characters that we call them Unicode characters. Look, these characters are in their language. For example, if they are Arabian hackers, they have some kind of different languages in Unicode. Okay, they try to use that. You see a domain exactly like Facebook.com, but it's not Facebook.com. They
Yeah,
are Unicode characters that has been converted to something that look like Facebook. Okay, so
right.
if you move your mouse over the link, you can see something totally different at the bottom of your browser, not facebook.com. You will see a large domain name, including some dash dash, including some characters.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on.
Okay. This is a very interesting one. And we call it the evil twin attack. All right. So evil twin is a form of phishing where the attacker sets up a rogue Wi-Fi network, and he basically tricks his victims into connecting to that network, and then he accesses their personal information. Okay. Evil twin phishing involves creating a Wi-Fi hotspot, like it is on the slide, that looks like the real one, and they will even use the SSID of the same network. Right. So this is something very interesting. And Babak, you want to go a little deeper into this?
Yeah, in real world, you may have seen a weird thing when you are trying to connect to a coffee shop, for example, Wi-Fi. Okay, so if the name of coffee shop is, for example, Royal Coffee Shop, you may see something weird that you see two Royal Coffee Shop Wi-Fi to connect. Both are the same in your mobile phone or on your device. Okay, so if you select, for example, the Rogue one, and you select to the rogue Wi-Fi of the hackers, they can eavesdrop all of your transaction data. They can sniff your data. So they can understand what is exactly you're putting in the forms of logins. They can understand what data is going out through your device to the host or to the server, and they can even intercept the response. For example, changing the response that are coming from the server to your device. So be sure about what you are connecting. If you see two things similarly, the name, I mean, two Wi-Fi names similar, very similar in your device, do not connect to any of them because you cannot understand which one is true.
So, Babak, that was my question because obviously I think public Wi-Fi is picking up very rampantly across the world, and especially in where I'm based in Dubai. Every cafeteria, every area you go to, they offer you a free Wi-Fi. So, if you have, for example, a VPN installed in your system, are you safe from these rogue attacks? And also,
Well,
like you said,
we can say yes, 90% you are safe, but always there are ways that hackers use in order to bypass mechanism or let's say protection things that you're using. Okay, so VPNs, maybe the VPN provider has some kind of vulnerabilities in their servers. So the hackers can use those vulnerabilities in order to again change your SSL connection to something readable and read those data that we were talking about. So uh, it's just like saying, do not put yourself in risk. Okay,
Mm,
it's
mm,
the better idea. Yes, if you have VPN, 90% you're protected when you're connecting through a Wi-Fi, but you can just not use public Wi-Fi. That's much more simpler.
mm. Because, like you said, a lot of people today are working from home. So, while they are working from home, they obviously are sometimes in the cafeteria and they need to log in. So, like you said, if you see two options, is there a way of validating which one is a genuine and which one is a rogue Wi-Fi?
Yes, for specialists they can understand, but for individuals it's very hard to distinct.
Hmm. Okay. All right. All right. So let's move on. I think we'll show them a live attack at the end, so they will probably get a little bit more educated to see what they should and shouldn't do, right?
Right.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. So HTTPS phishing.
Right. So HTTPS phishing. For those of you who don't know what HTTPS is, it's the hypertext secure protocol. Okay, and it is what people believe that makes the website really secure via encryption. And honestly, we used to teach this in our cybersecurity trainings that if a website has an SSL certificate, it's authentic. But now, research has shown that 58% of phishing websites also have valid SSL certificates as well as HTTPS. Okay, so now looking for websites and seeing that they have SSL certificates is not enough. We need to be a little more careful because a lot of phishing websites these days also have valid SSL certificates and HTTPS. Okay, they do look legitimate and there is no content except for the link itself. Okay, Babak, anything you want to add here? How can we really protect ourselves from a website that has a valid HTTPS protocol?
Look, HTTPS protocols use SSL or TLS, okay? So what we are talking about is what is happening when they use SSL, secure socket layer. It's a end-to-end encryption. It means that on your site, on your device, it will be decrypted in order to read it, okay? Then again, it will be encrypted and sent over to the host or website or web server, whatever they are responding. At that place, again, it will be decrypted. So what is happening? A phishing attacks a phishing attack is happening on your side, on the end user, okay, on your system. So everything that you are going to send is decrypted on your system, okay? When they have done the phishing, it doesn't matter that you're using SSL or whatever because they are not in between. They are at your system itself. So they can read it, read all the information.
Mm,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. The next is smishing or SMS phishing. And this is a kind of phishing that capitalizes on text messages. I personally receive so many of these during the week I've won millions of dollars in poker games and in rummy games, which I don't even play, right? It makes no sense. But these are these mass phishing attack mails that go out through SMSs, all right? They basically do this to lure customers and make them believe that they've won something. So something very important to remember in phishing attacks is that if it's too good to be true, it's not true, right? And nothing is for free. So if someone's saying that you won something for free without you even entering into something, that's definitely a fraud email or that's definitely a fake. It's just not real, okay? And once they do this, they basically send malicious URLs, and once you click on them, you're compromised, right?
So I'd like to share an example if that's okay. So a friend of mine also I actually went through this attack where she got an SMS or she got a message on WhatsApp actually. And once she clicked on the message just to read, I mean, she didn't even recognize it. She didn't even do anything. She just clicked on it to read, and the hackers were in her phone. And the next thing you know, they were accessing all her data and they were messaging all the people. And then she had to go individually and call everybody saying, do not reply to any of the messages that come from me because my phone has gotten hacked. Right. And then personally, I myself received a message from the hacker saying, look, we've sent you an OTP, a 4-digit OTP. Please, could you reshare that with me? And it was like literally cloning the person itself, saying the message has come from her, right? And when I did not respond, I got like another message with 3 question marks saying, what happened? You're not responding. But because she had called everybody and she had spoken to us, and we knew that she was hacked and her phone was hacked. Babak, I think in the previous sessions also somebody had asked, how safe is it to chat on WhatsApp? And especially I think in the recent time, since WhatsApp is there's a big thing about messages not being encrypted anymore because they're merging with Facebook or whatever. Do you have any views about how safe is it, and how do you then make sure that people are safe, or are they really safe on when it comes to WhatsApp and messaging?
WhatsApp is always safe, but the main problem is if your device got hacked, there is nothing safe on your device. So you're using a program like WhatsApp, you're using Facebook client on your device, you are using different kind of applications. Most of them are secure themselves. But if your device got hacked, the hacker has full control over your device. It's just like you are using your device, the hacker is using that just like you. So there's nothing safe if your device is got hacked. You always should have an antivirus on your device. If it is mobile phone, you should install some. If it is PC, laptop, whatever, you should have antivirus enabled, and it must be updated.
I'd also like to point out that WhatsApp and these kind of social medias on their own are safe, definitely. And an antivirus on its own is good. But if you are not aware as an individual, there is nothing that a software can do for you, right? So the primary thing to take away from this webinar is to have self-awareness and to have cyber awareness, right?
Right. Because I had another friend, I'll just quickly share another example. So I had another friend who had saved all her bank details, including her account name and number and OTP passwords for online banking. And when her phone got hacked, the hackers actually got into her life because they hacked all her accounts, all her cards, and everything, all the data that she had saved on her phone. So Babak, just a quick question. I'm sure it's not so much around SMSing, but what would be your suggestion to protect oneself, because today people have so many different sites and passwords and stuff like that, right? So is there a way you can protect yourself?
Of course, there are ways to protect yourself. There are many ways as well. So it depends what you are going to do, how you're surfing the internet. If you have different kind of websites that you are logging in daily, you should have different kind of passwords, not one password for all of those websites. If one website got hacked, your password is leaked out, so you will not lose all of your accounts over different kind of social medias or websites. The other way is to try to learn cybersecurity awareness, how to protect yourself against malicious websites, against phishing attacks. There are many ways, and there are many online tutorials about it. If you have a specific question, I can answer, of course.
Okay, so I think that brings us to the next topic as to what's the difference between phishing and spear phishing, because a lot of people know about phishing, and every time I talk to people, I realize most people are ignorant about this particular topic, which is spear phishing.
Before we go into that, I'd just like to add, let's not say passwords, let's use passphrases instead. Yeah, so don't just keep a word as your password, keep a phrase. That's way
Right.
better, and anything that's above 15 characters is very, very good, right? So use passphrases. For example, it can be, I want to work out 7 days a week, or I want to work out 7 days, right? That's your passphrase, and the I can be capital and there's a number in it, so it's very, very secure, right? So don't use a password, use a passphrase, use something that's close to you and that's personal to you, and nobody will be able to really breach you, right? So let's move into the difference between what phishing is and spear phishing is. Phishing is basically a general kind of attack, whereas spear phishing is a very targeted and laser focused approach. For spear phishing, usually it's done to HNIs or high network individuals or anybody else who has access to something that's privileged, right? Spear phishing is done by researching the victim, finding out what they do, what they like, and then launching their attack. Whereas phishing is sent out to a mass number of people. Okay, that is the basic definition. Babak, do you want to add anything more?
No, I think that was very well explained.
Thank you. All right. Now this is an interesting one: waterhole phishing. All right. Now, what is waterhole phishing and why is it called so? So, waterhole phishing is when an attacker compromises a third party website. You then visit the compromised website and receive malicious code. Now, the malware is installed into your system, and then the attacker starts his illicit activities. Okay. Basically, he gains entry. He collects your personal information through keyloggers, whatever he wants, and then he can spread the malware through other systems, something like what a worm does. All right. Now, the reason it is called a waterhole phishing attack is because it's based off the animal kingdom of when a zebra or an antelope basically goes to drink water or cool off during the summer months, and a crocodile suddenly comes and attacks. Okay. So if you do become the victim here, you are a zebra, all right, and the attacker is the crocodile. Babak, anything that you want to add in here?
No, actually.
All right. Ruzi, let's move on to the next slide. All right. Now this is whaling. Whaling is basically the inverse of the CEO fraud that we spoke about first. So whaling, instead of reaching out to the lower employees, what whaling does is it reaches out to the CEOs or the CFOs of the company, right? The bigger guys. Okay. And the goal is to trick that executive into revealing sensitive information or corporate data. Again, this is a type of spear phishing attack. Okay. And it's highly, highly tailored. Right. The victim's name, the job title, basic details, all this is already done. They do reconnaissance and then they attack. So this is something that is very highly tailored, and this is not something that goes out to any other employee other than the person they want to intend the attack upon. Okay, which is why it's called whaling. It's catching the bigger fish, in essence.
So just as a CEO, I have a quick question. Today most websites that you go to, everybody is collecting data, and the basic information that they're collecting is your name, your email ID, and your title, your job title, the name of your company, and your telephone number, right? Which means technically they're collecting predominantly your critical personal information, right? Now, obviously, there's so much of our information out there on Google. How do you protect yourself now? Because everywhere you are required to put those details, without which you can't either, get into the site or you can't register for something. So how do you then protect yourself as an individual who has to give that information but yet doesn't want to?
So
I would
there are
say,
three. Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Ness.
Okay, I would say verify, verify, and verify. If somebody does send you something like that, and it's a little suspicious, why don't you call that person and actually verify what's going on? Because you cannot not give your information where it's required. Sometimes you really have to. So I think the biggest takeaway would be just be aware, judge everything. I mean, question every single thing, okay, and verify, constantly verify. Over to you, Babak.
One of the best ways that I am using myself every day is to use fake identifications. Okay, so there are many websites that you can use for making fake identification of someone, and there are temporary email providers which you can use temp mails. Just by searching temp mail in the Google search, you can find many of them. So they just give you a temporary email address that you can use that email address in order to register somewhere if it is not very important, that website for you.
And sorry, quick one. So a lot of websites also then will send you a verification mail where you have to click on the verification link
Those
to
temp
validate.
emails, yeah, those temp emails will
Temporary-
provide you the
An inbox, a
inbox.
temporary
Yeah, you
inbox.
can use them as
So
well.
they give you everything that a normal email would, but it's safe. And if it's just a site you want to visit, and if you don't even want to get ads, right, constantly, you can use temp emails. Definitely, that's
But
a very
guys, do not ever, never use temp emails for very, uh, let's say, for banks, for example, for
right.
accounts that you have. If you want to make a fake account, use fake email. If you want to make a real account and you want to do many things with that real account, never use fake emails.
Definitely.
So, for example, if
Yes.
you want to give your email ID to your bankers, for example, your original bankers, then you advise to use the real account,
Of course, yes.
right? So, for the participants, I think Mezad has put a link in the chat box for those who want to know where the temp mail can be accessed. You can go ahead in the chat and you can download the link. Yeah, thank you both. Okay, so moving on then. So, how do you avoid all of these various attacks as an individual?
All right. So how do you avoid these? The first and foremost is cybersecurity awareness. You need to train your employees to adopt the best email practices, and not only email, right? Just everything. But when it comes to an organization, definitely the best email practices. The best email practices would be don't click on any malicious links, don't open any emails that are suspicious, but also just have a general awareness and verify and validate every single thing. Okay. Also, implement the use of email signing certificates. Babak, you want to take this on? Explain this a little bit more in depth.
It's very important that if you see an unwanted email wherever in your inbox, that you haven't asked for that, do not touch it, do not open it, just delete it. It's very important. And again, it's very important not to click on the content links in that email. This is more important too.
So I just wanted to share quickly because I work with a lot of corporates over here, and I during one of our cyber awareness trainings, I was informed by one of the corporates that their staff, in spite of having all the firewalls and all the filters and everything, one of their staff got a mail where he was awarded a certain amount in US dollars, I think about $6,000 or something. But for that, he had to first send them 6,000 dirhams just to show his interest, which he did. And then obviously they kind of scaled it and they said, okay, you were very prompt in responding. So we've doubled your reward. And so you need to send another 6,000. And he did. I think he sent it about 3 or 4 times till he was 35,000 or 36,000 dirhams down in his pocket before he actually went to his IT and said, look, I don't think this is working because I think I've sent them a lot of money. So what is your view about these kinds of mails, where sometimes there's an element of, excitement or fear? Sometimes people send you mails which creates fear. Like, for example, I sometimes do get mails saying, if you don't renew your domain now, your domain will be suspended, for example, right? And your instant reaction is, oh my God, my entire business is based on this domain. If it gets suspended, I can't work. So you obviously tend to get into that fear and click the link, yeah. So how do you avoid something like that, get falling into a trap like that as a user?
So you haven't participated in any casino, any place that offers you prize. Why they should offer prizes to you? This is the first question. Second, have you asked for anything? So, for instance, they ask you to pay them in order to reveal your prizes. Okay, so this doesn't make sense. If someone's going to give you money, they won't ask you money. Okay.
Another thing is that this actually reminds me of the Twitter scam that happened, right? Somebody logged into Elon Musk's account, for example, and asked for one Bitcoin. He would send them back, I think, 100 Bitcoin. And a lot of people did that. A lot of them sent in a huge amount of money. So that reminds me of the Twitter campaign. The important takeaway from all these things comes down to awareness again, right? Like Babak said, if you've not asked for something, why would somebody give it to you, right? It just comes down to basic cybersecurity awareness. So what I would feel is what people should do is be aware, number one. And number two, I feel organizations should hold social engineering simulation campaigns and see how many of their people are really getting involved in these phishing attacks and how many of them fall for it. And we actually do that as a service, right? We do social engineering phishing campaigns for clients, for companies, to see how many of them actually fall for the phishing attacks. And we follow it up by cybersecurity awareness training, and then we run the campaign again. So it's a cycle that goes on, and this is how we ensure a healthy cybersecurity culture in any organization that we partner with. All right.
So thank you both for that. In my view, a lot of companies believe, and this is maybe a false belief, that if they have a firewall and they have filters and they have an IT department, that they're safe and their staff are safe, and those mails will be stopped or blocked, and staff will not be exposed. But again, when I start working with these organizations, I realize that mails do get through. So how does that happen? So obviously companies are taking the best, putting the best foot forward, trying to secure themselves, their staff and their infrastructure. But mail still seems to be going, through the filters or through the firewalls and reaching staff. So how do you see those things happening?
So what we see always is uh, uh, people believe that if they are using, for example, some kind of antiviruses, they are totally protected, but it's not true. Let's say there are always ways to bypass those kind of protections. So we hackers mostly say that nothing is safe. Okay, even if they think that they have firewalls, they have proxies, they have gathered up some defense systems, implemented security operational center, all of those things can be bypassed by some kind of very sophisticated attacks that we can see always. We see always it happens to Facebook, it happens to Instagram. So this is a challenge. You can never say that I am 100% protected. You should take precautions.
Definitely. I totally agree. Yeah.
Okay, so I think let's get into the next part of our presentation where we want to show the live demo, because I think that's where a lot of people have, are waiting for.
Yeah, sure. We're back.
Is there any question that we should answer before
No,
Yeah,
getting into
I
the
think we've
demo?
told people that we'll take all the questions at the end. So can we finish up the demo and then maybe do the Q&A
Sure,
sessions?
of course. So what we are going to show you is a simulated phishing attack against ProteqMe.com, our company. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to send Merzad an email, a phishing email, and trying to show you how it happens. Okay. So let me share my screen here. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so what I am going to do, I am going to use this dashboard, which is a platform for running phishing tests. I have sent already an email to Merzad. I will send another one. I'm going to use a social media phishing test here. So let me, and Merzad will show you both of them, okay? So let me use Facebook spoofing email to Merzad. So what I'm going to use is his email. So I'm going to send a spoofing email. I will show you exactly what it looks like. Look, the preview here. This email will be sent to Merzad, okay?
All right.
It comes from facebook.authentication.com, which is just like a fake domain,
Yeah.
and you will get it in your inbox, okay?
All right.
So I will start posting it. I have posted two phishing attacks. One is a reply phishing test, which Merzad will show you, and the other is a Facebook phishing, okay? So as soon as Merzad gets in his inbox, we will show you how it happens in his inbox, and then we will get back to this panel to see what happens here.
All right. So I've
Oh,
received the first one, the reply one.
okay, can I stop and you share your screen?
All right. Let me share my screen. Here we are. Okay. So I've got this email from an administrator asking for an application audit.
So we
and
have
it
a
says,
spoofed admin at protectme.com
yeah,
because admin has never sent any email to Mirza.
right, yeah. So this is a spoofed email. Okay. What should I do now, Babak? What do you want me to do?
Can you reply this email?
Right.
You
So let
have
me reply.
opened it, yeah? Now
I have.
reply this. Look, it has asked Merzat, we are taking an audit of the most commonly used applications. Please reply with up to 3 applications you are regularly using, okay? So the hacker is going to get some information from Merzat, what applications he's using by this email.
Right. And if you all can see, I've also received the Facebook email, which has come. Can you all see my screen? It's come from Facebook,
Yes,
which
I
says
can.
my friend has tagged me in an email, in a post or something to that effect. Right. So also, guys, something interesting to note here. If you look at this email address here, can you all look at that? It's admin.d5 at protectme.com.cnn.compromiseblog.com. All right. So if I am a little aware, I can tell that this is not from admin at Protectme. Because
Mhm.
look, is this visible? It says
Yes.
administrator, but it's really not the admin. All right. So let me just send this out. And while that's going, let's open the next one, the Facebook one. So this is the mail that I've got from Facebook. It says that my friend has added 6 photos of me. Now, if I hover my mouse, this is not Facebook, is it? Right? It's, what is this, Babak? When I hover my mouse, could you tell us?
This is the attacker's URL that is using in order to send you the spoofed email or the phishing email.
Right. And also look at the amount of intricacy here. This message has been sent to this email. If you don't want to receive these from Facebook, please unsubscribe. And this unsubscribe link also goes to the attacker's link. All
Mm,
right. So you
yeah.
need to be very, very, very careful. And again, if you look at this, it says notify at facebook.authentication.com. And the
Mhm.
spelling is not even authentication. There's an L right here, right here.
Mm.
So these are some things to look at when you're looking at an email and to be careful about. So should I
So,
click on
yes,
go
you
back?
can click. Let's see what happens.
Can you all see my screen
Yes.
on the new?
It's
And it has
frozen
come.
somehow, I think.
There's a
Or,
latency. It's open to the Facebook page. Is it visible?
no, not yet.
No,
I'm not
we are
seeing.
still on the mail.
Let me reshare. Right. So it's open to this Facebook page. You can see that the domain does not match Facebook's domain, but if it was sophisticated, it would to an extent. And but what's important to note here is that it is SSL certified. There is an SSL certificate here, and the connection is secure.
Yeah. So SSL certification doesn't mean that you are surfing a safe website. Be careful.
It
Can
just
you
means that
put, yeah, can you put a fake login email and a fake password over there and try to log in? You should put email, of course, just a fake email at signsomewhere.com.
So obviously, Babak, today social media is is a big part of everybody's lives, right? And I
Right.
think constantly you get emails, one action on a Facebook group of yours that you're connected with, or one person you're connected with, you get a notification saying this person is updated, this person is sharing, this person is sending a friend request. How do you protect yourself? It's just basically validating these, hovering the mouse and validating the links,
Yes,
is
of
it?
course. These are the ways that you can protect yourself. You should always watch out what you are clicking, what you are doing.
Right.
right, it's saying that the password I've entered is incorrect.
Okay, so let me share my screen now to show what's happening at the hacker's perspective. So, Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let me refresh my page. I've sent two emails to Merzad. So here, this email, which he replied, and here, a social media phishing, which was on behalf of Facebook. Okay, so
Right.
if I go again to my dashboard, look at here, it converted to red. It means that something has happened from the user. A user
Mm.
replied it.
Right.
Okay, so if I download the report, and if I open up the report, this is what happens here. One person has been replying. So if we want to know what is the reply exactly, which is not included in this demo, so we will teach them how to see what is exactly their response. Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
does
Again
this mean that,
here,
sorry, Babak, so does this mean that if Mezad has replied, you will be then able to view his user ID and password with which he logged in and
sure, of
replied to
course,
you?
yes. And this is the way they are hacking social medias. So we may have a social media real world hacking course, but it's not free.
Right.
Uh, we will have it and we will teach them how to use some Python scripts, how to run their hosting, their fake hosting, how to make fake pages in order to capture the credentials that the victim is sending, but of course for educational purpose only, because they can understand if they know how to hack or how to attack in real world, they can protect themselves better. This is my
Correct.
idea.
That's right.
Because
So
sorry,
yeah,
there's a question in the chat saying, how do I get deep knowledge about hacking? And I think Mezad has replied to that. But also, I think, like you said, we will have some courses where we will actually teach them, right?
of course, right. And hacking is a very wide area. You cannot just learn hack by 2 months or 3 months doing something. It is a very wide area. But you can learn, for example, how to do social engineering attacks.
Hmm.
This area you can cover it. Then you can go to another area, for example, how to hack into a website.
Hmm.
That will need a course of over 20 sessions, and it needs
Right.
some prerequisites
Right.
knowledges.
Okay. So what would be the prerequisites for those? Do we have anything in mind? Because we'll talk about
Yes,
what are
of
we
course.
going to teach.
They should know at least one language programming, let's say, or be familiar with that. They should know how to work with Linux systems, how to use terminal commands. They should know a basic knowledge about uh,
You know, network.
network, yeah, network, TCP/IP, UDP. There are some kind of primary lessons or courses that they should first attend and then sit for penetration testing, for example, or hacking a website.
Right.
Right.
It's not just like using tools, it's not just like 1 2 3 click and that's done.
Right. So just for those who are online, because we've got some questions on Q&A also where they want to know if we are going to do a paid event. So for people who are a part of this session as a participant, we'd like to make you a special offer. So we do have dedicated sessions where we will teach you how to become a hacker, right? Where we will teach you how to run different kinds of simulated real world phishing attacks, just to get industry knowledge. That will cover phishing security tests, phishing reply tests, social media phishing tests, USB security tests. These courses are actually worth thousands of dollars outside if you go and buy those to do to do an in-depth course. But for the sake of people who've actually attended the session, what we'd like to do is we just like to present a special offer to you Each of our courses are packaged at $99. We are clubbing all of these 4 courses together and we are offering it for $47 for people who are a part of the session. So what we are going to do is in the chat, there is a PayPal link for those who want to avail of this special offer and do all the 4 topics as a part of one course and want a discounted price of $47 can start registering. So we've put a link in the chat. In the meantime, we do have a few questions. So should we just take on some questions?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just quickly open some questions. So Babak and Mezat, the first question is: if there were any websites, are there any websites where you can copy the links and check whether it contains, whether it's a phishing mail or whether
Yes,
it
of
contains
course.
malware?
There are many. We will share later on our LinkedIn channel or our social media channels.
Definitely. Yes.
Okay, and these websites will help them check whether these are phishing mails and whether there are
Yes,
malwares
of
in the
course,
links.
of course. Yes.
Okay, all right. The next question is it possible to decrypt WhatsApp Messenger database, like with 8 words or something like that? Something, whether it's possible to decrypt the Messenger
Yes, if the
database on
hacker
WhatsApp?
has access to the system that they are using WhatsApp on that. For instance, if the hacker has full access to the mobile device of the target or of the victim, they can take out some files which are responsible for backup the messages of WhatsApp, and then they are of course some scripts and tools in order to decrypt those messages.
Okay, and is there anything that we need to talk about now about those tools? Are we going to share those, or do they need to come into the paid session to
They
find
are
out those
very
things?
technically. They are Python scripts. Some of them are. It's not. They are not ready-made tools. They need some integration. So if someone wants to learn how to do that, or someone wants to do it really, they should first hack into the device of the victim, and then, of course, there are other ways that we can teach them how to do that.
All right. The next question is if you receive a mail, because we spoke about mails, right? Receiving mails, either whether it's whale phishing or spear phishing. So the person wants to know if there are malwares in the URL that comes into as a part of the mail. How do you find out about it without opening those mails?
There is no need to find out. You just need to delete it. Okay. If you feel that an email is an unwanted email, and you haven't asked for that, just delete it up. This is the first advice. But if you want to understand, there are tools like sandbox tools that, again, a technical person should install. Malware analyzers use sandbox tools in order to analyze a malware. Okay, so the browser will be started in that sandbox, and it is safe. Then they can click on something to see what is happening in the system. Mostly they are using virtual machines in order to do such things, not on the system that they are using, not on their mobile phone that they are using. They have some devices, we call them virtual machine, or simulated Android machines, that open up a malicious email, and they try to understand what is happening, what requests are going out from that browser to what server. And this is called forensic, or this is called malware analyzing.
So, Babak, for a company, I can understand that they install all of these, to block those mails. But for an individual who's kind of, working from home or, on his personal laptop doing his personal piece of work,
Some
how can
antiviruses,
they protect
yes.
themselves?
Yes,
Antiviruses.
some antiviruses has browser integration as well. So if you are using Chrome, that antivirus has add-on for Chrome, which you can install it on Chrome. And as soon as you are going to fall a victim or to fall in a hacking attempts, they will inform you and they will block you to do something. Okay.
Mm.
Some other browsers like Chrome, again, Firefox has it, Brave browser has this ability too, will try to tell you if a website is not legitimate. It doesn't mean that any error comes up. It means that that website is trying to infect you. But
Yeah.
most of the times, Google itself will ban you, will tell you, do not access this website. Okay,
Mm.
you may have seen it when you try
So
to
is
see
there
a
a
website.
possibility that these hackers can bypass Google servers?
Of course, again, yes, and this is what is happening in the world. So many of these hackers are hacking companies. Now that we are talking, are targeting people now that we are talking, and they won't understand what is happening. This is a challenge that will never finish.
Right. I think in the interest of time, we'll just take one last question. So somebody said that in my is my Windows Defender quite safe, or should we buy a premium version to keep ourselves safe?
Windows Defender itself will do 95% of the job if it is updated. Again, if it
Hmm.
is updated.
Right.
But if you want to have something, what I am using myself is Malwarebytes anti-malware. It is
Right.
the best between among antiviruses, to my idea.
Okay. So we do have a few more questions. I think in the interest of time, because we are just about coming up to an hour. So for the sake of the participants, we'll answer the rest of the questions on LinkedIn. So please follow us on our LinkedIn page. And we generally tend to do this. Yes, Miss.
Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, wherever you want. We also have a
Yeah.
PDF talking about all the topics covered today in depth. If anybody wants their hands on that PDF, please feel free to put up a story, give us your reviews. Any feedback is good, and we will send you the PDF. All right.
Yeah.
So make sure you tag us and make sure you give us a review on your social media, or
Yeah,
you can directly
again,
email us and we will send it to you as well. All right.
yes, this PDF is very detailed about those kind of attacks that we talked about it. They in detail we have explained everything. So try to get it. It's very useful for you.
So there you go. So that's a reward for all of you guys who's on the call. So if you can make a post about us and about the session, if you can write down something that you've taken away from today's session and tag us, then we are happy to give you the PDF for free. And like I said, for investing your time with us, we'd like to offer you the special price about covering the 4 critical topics around phishing, which is phishing security test, phishing reply test, social media phishing test, and USB security test, all for just $47, right? So like we said, the link is in the chat, the payment link. For those who are interested, you can go ahead and log in and you can make your payment and lock in the price for you. All right. So I think with that, we are pretty much done. I just wanted to thank you both you, my partners. I don't think Protect would
Thank
have
you.
survived without you. So thank you all. And I'd like to thank the participant for their time, for being with us. Watch out for the space, because next month we have some interesting topics coming up, which is very real to the very, very real world.
In fact, next week we're going to be covering the dark web and really getting hands on with the dark web. All
Yes.
right. I know that's a topic that everybody wants to know about, and we'll take you through that next week. Okay.
Yeah. So stay safe and keep your eyes open. Don't click on the wrong things. Don't download the wrong attachments. Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Babak. Thank you all for your participation. I
Thank you very
think there
much.
is, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.